Work and learn. Meet Light Meet Max සක්‍රිය කර ගැනීමට MySLT app එකට log වෙන්න. Work and learn. Meet Light Meet Max සක්‍රිය කර ගැනීමට MySLT app එකට log වෙන්න.
අර පිරිමැස්ම ගැන හිතන ඔබට Vim Liquid වෙතින් රුපියල් 100ක ඉතිරියක්.
හරිම සුළුයි.
Tonight on First at 9, this Thursday the 29th of December 2022. LG polls. Date calling for the local government nominations to be announced on the first week of January, says the Election Commission. Dollar inflows. The third Russian charter flight Red Wings lands in Sri Lanka this morning. Bilateral cooperation. Vietnam President requests Sri Lanka to work together and strive to raise bilateral trade and expand ties in investment with Vietnam. Collaboration. Vice Chancellor of the University of Colombo says local university collaboration with Japanese universities will lead to development of the country's education.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9 with Andrew Bernard. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
A very good evening and welcome to AdaDerana 24's English News. Now, the Election Commission announced today that they will begin accepting nominations for the local government election on the first week of January. Meanwhile, the Sri Lanka Freedom Party says that they will be forming an alliance for the local government election. To this extent, the SLFP's General Secretary Dayasiri Jayasekara said that they held successful talks with Dallas Alhaperuma's led Freedom People's Congress.
The members of the Election Commission held discussions today pertaining to the local government election scheduled to be held next year. The discussion was also joined by the Senior DIG in charge of election affairs, officials of the Defence Ministry, the Department of Government Printing and the Postmaster General.
මැතිවරණ කමිෂන් සභාව ප්‍රකාශයට පත් කළා තියෙනවා 2023 පළාත් පාලන මැතිවරණය සඳහා නාම යෝජනා කැඳවීමේ දිනය ජනවාරි මාසයේ මුල් සතියේදී ප්‍රකාශයට පත් කරන බව. නාම යෝජනා කැඳවීමේ දිනය ප්‍රකාශයට පත් කළ සැනින් අපි තැපැල් ඡන්ද අයදුම්පත් බාර ගැනීම කරන්න ඕන. අපි තැපැල් දෙපාර්තමේන්තුව සමග සාකච්ඡා කරා ඒ සම්බන්ධයෙන් නාම යෝජනා කැඳවීමත් සමගම අපි ඊළඟට ආපහු මේ නාම යෝජනා දෙන පාර්ශ්වයත් එක්ක ඡන්ද පත්‍රිකා මුද්‍රණය කරන්න ඕනේ. අනිත් ලිපි කවර මුද්‍රණය ඉඳන් අපි මුද්‍රණ දෙපාර්තමේන්තුවත් එක්ක ඒ සාකච්ඡා පැවතුණා. මහා භාණ්ඩාගාරයට අයවැය සකස් කරන අවස්ථාවේදී අදාළ ප්‍රතිපාදන ඉල්ල ඉදිරිපත් කළේ අනුව ඔවුන් අයවැයේදී පාර්ලිමේන්තුව ඒ සඳහා මුදල් වෙන් කිරීම කරලා තියෙනවා.
සමහරුන් චෝදනා කරනවා දේශපාලන පක්ෂ ආණ්ඩුව උත්සාහ කරන්නේ නාම යෝජනා බාරගත්තට පස්සේ මැතිවරණ කල් දාන්න කියලා. එහෙම හැකියාවක් තියෙනවා.
අතීතයේ දින අත්දැකීම් තමයි නාම යෝජනා කැඳවීම පස්සේ ඡන්ද කල් දාලා තියෙනවා. අධිකරණය මගින් තීරණය අරන් තියෙනවා ජනතාවගේ පරමාධිපත්‍යය ආරක්ෂා කරන්න කටයුතු කරපු ආකාරය.
In the meantime, members of the Sri Lanka Freedom Party, including its chairman, former President Maithripala Sirisena and General Secretary Dayasiri Jayasekara, held discussions pertaining to the local government election with the Election Commission.
අපි දැවන්ත සන්ධානයක් අපි හදනවා. මේ වෙනකොටත් අපි දලසලප්පිරු මැතිතුමා ඇතුළු 13 දෙනෙක් මන්ත්‍රීවරුත් එක්ක සාකච්ඡා කළා. නිදහස් සඳහා ජනතා සභාව සමග සාකච්ඡා කළා අවසానයි. ඒක සාර්ථක වෙයි අපි විශ්වාස කරනවා. ඒ වගේම තවත් අනිකුත් පක්ෂත් එකතු කරගන්න අපි බලාපොරොත්තු තියෙන්නේ.
Meanwhile, eligibility tests for those who are willing to contest for the local government election from Samagijana Balawegaya commenced today at the party headquarters in Pitakotte.
මැතිවරණ ව්‍යාපාරය ලබන මාසයේ මුල ආරම්භ කිරීමට කටයුතු කරනවා. ඒ වගේම ආණ්ඩුව අද නොයෙක් උපක්‍රම යොදවලා මැතිවරණයකට යන්න බය නිසා මේ මැතිවරණයේ කල් දාන උපක්‍රම යොදවනවා. අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම මේ මැතිවරණය ජයග්‍රහණය කරන්න අපි කටයුතු කරනවා.
Now, Russia's Red Wings Airlines commenced charter flight operations to Sri Lanka, becoming the third Russian airline to operate direct flights to the island nation. Its maiden flight landed at the Mattala Rajapaksa International Airport today with over 400 passengers on board. As such, the airline will operate 2 flights to Sri Lanka on every Wednesday and Sunday of the week.
Moscow-based Red Wings Airlines, which commenced charter flight operations to Sri Lanka yesterday, arrived at the Mattala Rajapaksa International Airport this morning with 412 passengers on board. Upon arrival, the passengers were ceremoniously welcomed by the Airport and Aviation Services and the Ministry of Aviation.
Россияне, это ваш аэропорт.
This is your airport. Do not fly to Europe. Sri Lanka is an amazing small island which is waiting for you. Fly only to Sri Lanka. Thank you very much.
From yesterday onwards, Red Wings will operate 2 flights per week to the Mattal International Airport.
The start of flights to Sri Lanka is a new milestone in our cooperation and a remarkable event for Red Wings. Flights will be operated twice a week on Wednesday and Sundays from Moscow Domodedovo Airport. Return flights to the Russian capital will be performed on Mondays and Thursdays.
Red Wings is the third Russian airline serving direct flights to Sri Lanka other than the national carrier Aeroflot and Azur Air. Further, Red Wings airline planes are expected to switch to the regular flights as soon as accreditation is granted by Sri Lanka Civil Aviation Authority in order to increase the number of flights gradually.
Now, Vietnam President requests Sri Lanka and Cambodia to work together more closely and strive to raise bilateral trade and expand ties in the investment and tourism with Vietnam. During a meeting with the Sri Lankan and Cambodian ambassadors in Vietnam, the Vietnamese head of state noted that Sri Lanka and Cambodia should continue coordinating with non-aligned movement frameworks.
Outgoing ambassador of Sri Lanka to Vietnam, Chaminda Gamage, and Cambodian envoy to Vietnam called on Vietnamese President Nguyen Xuan Phuc to bid his farewell yesterday. During the meeting, the Vietnamese head of state affirmed the Sri Lankan envoy that Vietnam always attaches importance to the traditional friendship and multifaceted cooperation with Sri Lanka. He also asked the outgoing Sri Lankan envoy and the Cambodian envoy to work together more closely in fisheries and agriculture, step up existing cooperation mechanisms, strive to raise bilateral trade to $500 million and expand ties in investment, tourism, education and training, culture, Buddhist affairs and people-to-people exchanges. The value of outgoing Sri Lankan diplomats' efforts to boost cultural changes and partnerships in religious affairs and trade was highly appreciated by the Vietnamese president and thanked him for supporting Vietnam's candidacy for membership of the UN Human Rights Council for 2023 and 2025. The Vietnamese head of state noted that Sri Lanka should continue coordinating with the UN and non-aligned movement frameworks and called on Sri Lanka to keep supporting the ASEAN's common stance on the East Sea issue, maintenance of peace and freedom of navigation and overflight, and compliance with the international law and the 1982 UN Convention on the Law of the Sea.
Now, the Vice-Chancellor of the University of Colombo, Professor H.D. Karunaratne, says that local university collaboration with Japanese universities will provide many opportunities to the Sri Lankan students, adding that it will also lead to the development of the country's education system. Speaking at an event in Colombo, University Professor Karunaratne said that Sri Lanka needs more Japanese foreign investment, mainly into the education sector.
The launch of the book Odyssey of Partnership to commemorate 70 years of Japan-Sri Lanka relations was held at the University of Colombo under the patronage of Japanese Ambassador to Sri Lanka, Mitsukoshi Hideaki.
I take great pride in the Government of Japan's scholarship program that have ceaselessly continued since 1954 and in other study in Japan programs that the Embassy of Japan has fortunately been able to support in varying degrees. Apart from these scholarships, Japan and Sri Lanka have also collaborated in various academic exchanges on a wide range of topics of mutual interest, including joint seminars, student exchanges, improvement of higher education facilities through ODA and many others. Such exchanges too have played an important role in promoting our friendly relations and academic relations.
As economists, we have doubt whether we have really capitalized the Japan-Sri Lanka relations in the economic dimension, because we need to get more foreign investment and more collaborations. I think one way, the particularly universities to universities collaboration is essential. As I mentioned that there are more than 800 universities in Japan. We have 17 universities and there are many opportunities. Those universities all are almost research universities. Our universities turning now from teaching universities to research universities. So if we can collaborate and develop a network with Sri Lankan universities and Japanese universities, I think it will be a wonderful opportunity for Sri Lanka to develop the education sector.
The Minister of Power and Energy, Kanchana Wijesekara, met with representatives of several trade unions of the Ceylon Electricity Board in order to discuss several key concerns. Representatives of the CB Senior Engineers Union, Electrical Superintendents Union, Technical Services and other union members participated in the discussions, and talks were held on several pressing issues, including the recent proposed electricity tariff adjustments. The minister said that the restructuring of CB, management of the CB's expenses and other service issues were also discussed during the meeting. Meanwhile, in a separate tweet regarding the electricity tariffs, Minister Vijay Sekara noted that the CB earned a total revenue of 33.6 billion rupees in October and 35.6 billion rupees in November with the current tariff structure. However, the board's requirement of heavy fuel oil, naphtha and diesel to operate power stations for the month of January is 35 billion rupees, and added that the requirement for coal payments alone for January is 38.45 billion rupees. And stay with us as we bring you more news on the other side of this short commercial break.
It's hard to keep up with the new when you're listening to the same old Slim Bread Week, a week for professionals.
Now, India's National Investigation Agency arrested a member of the terrorist organization Islamic State who was in touch with Zahran Hashim, the ringleader of the 2019 Easter Sunday bombings. The suspect had reportedly maintained communication with Zahran Hashim via a Facebook page prior to the Easter Sunday bombings.
The suspect Sheikh Hidayatullah, who is said to have links with the ringleader of the 2019 Easter Sunday bomb attack, Zahran Hashim, was arrested by India's National Investigation Agency over his alleged links with suspects in the bomb blast that took place in Tamil Nadu's Coimbatore on the 23rd of October. Hindustan Times quoting NIA officers reported that the arrested suspect, who has been propagating IS ideology since 2017, was earlier arrested along with a suspect named Azharuddin in June 2019 and later was released on bail in 2020. Azharuddin, and leader of Kerala Tamil Nadu IS module, is currently in jail for the Sri Lanka bombings. It also reports that all of the accused were inspired by Zahran Hashim, who carried out the Easter Sunday attacks. Further, they have also planned to carry out similar attacks in 2 South Indian states at that time. According to the NIA's charge sheet filed against Hidayatullah in 2019, Hidayatullah and Hashim were in touch through a Facebook page named Khalifa GFX prior to the Sri Lankan bombings.
Now, the Heart to Heart International Organization of the United States donated its third batch of urgent medical supplies to Sri Lanka. According to the Sri Lankan Embassy in the US, the medical donation, which amounts to $72 million, include urgent medicines such as propanol hydrochloride and labetalol HCl to treat high blood pressure and other heart problems, potassium chloride to treat low levels of potassium in the body, and quercetin fluoride to treat certain mental or mood conditions such as depression, schizophrenia, bipolar disorders. It will also have a different drug that helps decrease high blood uric acid levels and prevent gout, which is a form of arthritis. In coordination with the Ministry of Health in Sri Lanka and the Sri Lankan Embassy, the third donation, which was due to reach Colombo, reached today. Thus far, the total in-kind donation provided by the Heart to Heart International in Sri Lanka amounts to $19 billion or $7.4 billion. Now, the chairman of the Beliata Pradesh Sabha, Srimal Mulasinghe, and his elder brother were arrested for allegedly stealing several lengths of GI pipes worth nearly 250,000 rupees. It is reported that at least 11 GI pipes, which were intended for a community water project, had been stolen last night, and the chairman of the Pradesh Sabha and his brother were accused and arrested by the Beliata police this morning, following a complaint regarding the incident. After producing before the Tangaul Magistrates Court, the suspects were ordered to be remanded until the 3rd of January 2023. Now, on the Colombo Stock Exchange today, Sri Lankan shares ended up today pushed by buying in insurance counters on speculation of interest rates easing. The main all-share price index in Colombo closed 0.24% higher at 8,431.97. The molecule index S&P SL20 closed 0.19% lower at 2,631.3. The market witnessed a turnover of 1.7 billion rupees, a quarter of this year's daily average turnover of 2.9 billion rupees. The market saw a net foreign outflow of 102 million rupees. The total net foreign inflow stood at 31.4 billion rupees so far for this year. Lanka Insurance pushed the index up to close at 4.9% higher at 2,249 rupees and 5 cents. In the meantime, the Ceylon Tobacco Company gained 4% to close at 625 rupees, and LOLC Finance closed 7.9% higher at 8 rupees and 2 cents a share. Now let's take a look at how the rupee traded against other major currencies in the world. And that's all the news we have for this evening. Join us again tomorrow for the very latest news at the very same time. Until then, tune on our website and social media platforms for more news. Have a pleasant evening and good night.
For news and information you can trust 24 hours a day, visit AdaDerana.lk.